Welcome to Beat Diabetes, where we'll talk today about 8 of my go-to side dishes for keeping glucose low. Well, as you may have guessed, I have a lovely assistant who it's always a thrill and a pleasure to have this lady on my Beat Diabetes show or on our Beat Diabetes channel. And her name is Benedicta. Welcome to another Beat Diabetes episode.
Thank you, Dennis. I'm always available to show up on Beat Diabetes family. How y'all doing?
If you go very long without being on the show, people start asking about you, So they've been asking about you. A few of them have, and I've thought, I better get my sweet Benedicta on here so they won't miss her too much.
Oh, please, thank you very much. I'm glad to know that somebody out there missed me.
Right. So, we have almost a bare table, except for two things. What is our centerpiece of our table here today?
This is roasted chicken.
Roasted chicken, right. Now, This is not breaded chicken. This is not fried chicken. This is roasted, so it does not have that extra bread in it with the coating.
No.
So it's going to be lower in carbs.
In fact,
virtually no carbs. So, I mean, you could pretty much eat the whole chicken and it wouldn't raise blood sugar much.
Okay.
But we're here to talk about side dishes. When if you go to a restaurant and you order chicken, they're going to expect you're going to want something besides the chicken.
Right.
Or if you go to a friend's house and they serve you chicken and they just plop a big old chicken down in front of you, you're going to be looking around like, well,
waiting for the side dish.
What else is there?
Up.
Be kind of like going to Nigeria and getting a big bowl of soup and no fufu. I mean, what kind of a meal would that be?
All fufu, no soup.
Or all fufu and no soup. Just wouldn't work.
Yeah, the visitor will be sitting and waiting for you like, okay, what are the rest of the food?
Yeah. So we have something that we call side dishes.
Right.
Or sides. Sometimes in the restaurant they'll say, well, you get 3 sides with that particular main dish you're getting.
Food, yeah.
And so these are little extra things that help do a couple of things. Number one, they provide some extra nutrition a lot of times. And they also help fill you up.
Okay.
Without it being too boring.
Right.
Now, I have to watch what I'm saying here because sometimes, I think on one of my videos previously about chicken, I said, well, nobody would want just chicken by itself. And you wouldn't believe how many people wrote in and say, oh, I do that all the time. I eat chicken all by myself, all by itself.
All by itself.
All by myself, all by itself. And they don't eat any side. So I won't say.
It's good too.
Yeah, I won't say that can't be done. But I say for most of us people, we want something else.
Okay.
And it's especially tricky for people that are trying to do the low carb and keep their glucose in line. Because if you don't care about carbs, there's all kinds of side dishes. Potato chips, baked potatoes, tortilla chips and salsa, and just all kinds of things you can use as sides. But when you're trying to keep those carbs low, you have to be limited.
Right.
And you have to watch, find things that are not going to jack up your blood sugar. And one of the things that I sense a frustration among some of the people that watch my videos is they want to know, well, what can we eat? They kind of get what they cannot eat, but they say, well, what can we eat?
What can we eat?
And I think with side dishes especially, it can be a problem. So we've got 8 side dishes that we're going to share that will keep the glucose low, keep the carbs low, and should be able to work for most people. Now, you may have wondered, what is this Nescafe instant coffee lid doing here on this magnificent table? Well, we're going to pretend this is a magic button. Okay. So we're going to place this on the table. And you have to use your pointer finger. You can't use all your fingers, or can't pound it. It's so magic. You have to use your pointer finger.
Does it have anything that would do like eh?
Well, you have to supply the eh. You have to come up with a sound of some kind.
Effect.
A sound effect, right. And then when you press the button and you give your little sound effect, something will magically appear
on the table.
On the table. So I'm going to first demonstrate how this works.
Okay.
This may be a first in all of YouTube history.
Yeah.
And I'm going to demonstrate how this works, and we'll have a side dish magically appear, and you can just start revealing what these different side dishes are.
Can you practice what your A will be?
Oh, I already know. So here we go. Bzzz. And there it is. Our first side dish. You want to unveil and reveal what this side dish is.
Sure, Dennis.
And there you have it, our first of the 8 side dishes.
Right.
And what do we have here?
We have celery with peanut butter. That's organic peanut butter.
Well, yeah, actually it's organic almond butter. I couldn't find the organic peanut butter that had low enough carbs. But anyway, and the other is the celery with cream cheese.
Cream cheese.
So celery, God made celery in kind of a cool way because he made it with a ridge that you can stick things in.
Yeah, right.
And, of course,
fill it up.
Here's what you don't want to do. You don't want to fill it up with jelly. You remember Granny and her jelly sandwiches?
Granny and her jelly.
Granny would want to put jelly in there.
Yeah.
Granny can't do that.
Granny can't do that.
So we got cream cheese. And we've got almond butter, organic. The reason it's so liquidy and so forth is it's organic, and you have to kind of stir it around to get it to have a reasonable consistency. Very low in carb, very filling. You could even eat a couple of them. Celery has less than 1 gram of carbs for the whole stick.
Okay.
The organic peanut butter or organic almond butter, not much.
Not much.
The the cream cheese, even less still.
Right.
So basically here is something that will fill you up, is good for you, and does not raise your blood sugar much. So
that's it.
I'm going to give you the honor of bringing on the very next side dish. Go ahead and reveal what this number 2 side dish is.
Number 2 side dish. Oh.
What do we have here?
Boiled eggs.
Boiled eggs.
Yep.
Now, boiled eggs are filling. Don't you get filled up? You eat
very
about 2 or 3?
much filling, yeah.
They are extremely low carbs. I think it's like 0.6 gram of carb for one whole egg.
Okay.
And they're not going to do anything to blood sugar, practically. So
nothing.
Some people might say, well, that's not my side dish. That's my main dish. And it could be.
Right. It could be. We eat it sometimes as main dish.
A lot of times you have something else and you just throw in an egg or 2 and it helps fill you up without raising your blood sugar.
Without raising it.
Ready for number 3?
Number 3.
Let's go ahead. Hit the button.
Yeah.
So what do we have here?
What we have is... green beans.
Green beans. Everybody knows about green beans. You eat green beans in Nigeria?
Yeah, we eat it. It's all over the place.
Yeah, in America. Now, I'll tell you a secret. I hated green beans when I was a kid.
You did?
I hated green beans, and Mom just couldn't get me to eat them for anything. And somehow, when I turned around 18, 19, I got too embarrassed when I had to go over to a friend's house to just say no to everything. I started eating things I would never eat from Mom. Poor Mom had to really go through it with a picky kid like me. Now, this represents 1 can of green beans. Obviously, you can, grow them yourself. You can buy them frozen. But this represents about 7 net grams of carb for the whole thing. And most people wouldn't eat that much.
No, that's too much.
So most would eat about half, which is about 3.5 grams of carbs. So again, low carb, fairly high nutrition, filling, works as a side dish.
Works.
Let's go for number 4.
Number 4.
Get the magic button out.
Magic button.
Okay, what do we have here?
What we have here is... drum roll, boom, avocados.
Avocados. Now, avocados are high in fat, so the keto people love them. But I'll tell you something. If you don't go by net carbs, if you go by total carbs, it's really not so good because a bigger avocado can have as much as 20 grams of carbs total.
Really?
Yeah. But most of those are fiber carbs, so those of us that go by the net carbs idea, we deduct it, and it's down to like 4 or 5. This probably wouldn't have 20, but it might have 13, 14, 15. But net carbs, it would only have like 3 or 4.
Okay.
So it doesn't raise my blood sugar much. Wouldn't most people, but some people say, well, all carbs raise it, and I don't believe it in the net carb concept at all. And if you don't deduct for fiber, you probably ought to stay away from this because you're going to be getting up to 20 grams or close to it.
Oh.
And that's like your limit if you're trying to do keto is 20 grams per day. But anyway, they taste good, right?
Tastes really good. I love it.
They're all over Africa.
All over Africa.
In fact,
big ones.
Africans know how to raise avocados.
Yes.
They're much bigger than some of the little Walmart. Now, this I got at Brookshire's, and it was more expensive, but it's a lot bigger. Some of the little Walmart ones are like 50 cents, but they're about the size of a golf ball or something. Okay, I'm exaggerating a little bit. But anyway, this is a big one, so I probably wouldn't even want the whole thing as a side, but I might eat half of it.
Yeah, and it has good fats for you.
Very high in fat, healthy fat, good fat, like you say. So you just can't go wrong with avocados unless you don't want to do the net carbs thing. And if you don't, then you probably ought to stay away.
Right.
Time for another magic button push.
Drum roll.
So our next side did not quite fit under our covering bowl, but it got close. Go ahead and pick it up and show us what we got here.
What we have is Bulletproof Coffee. Yay!
Bulletproof Coffee. Now, I know what you're thinking. That's not a side. Coffee's a drink, blah, 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 blah. But
you have to drink something while you eat.
The thing of it is, the coffee has 2 ingredients in it, which are... What do we put in ours? People can vary on what they put in theirs, but what do we put in ours?
Cream and butter. Cream
and butter. Now, those are both essentially foods, and they're both fairly high calorie, and they're both filling. And that's one reason I can often just have a Bulletproof Coffee for my breakfast. It will usually be in a little bigger cup than this. And it pretty well will last me till lunch. It doesn't bother me much to just have that as my only food.
Just the coffee, Bulletproof Coffee. We don't eat anything alongside with it if you want to eat it at breakfast as a breakfast.
Right. And the reason that I call this a side is it helps fill you up. The cream and the butter both have almost pure fat. I mean, we're talking fat. I mean, you want to talk fat. This is fat, pure fat. But that means it won't raise blood sugar.
Right.
That means it will fill you up. And cream and butter are actually a very healthy thing to eat or drink, however you want to say it.
Yeah.
So by taking some Bulletproof Coffee, you don't need to eat as much with your meal.
Right.
And you're getting a lot of fat. You know, the keto diet says, get as much fat as you can, up to 70%.
Right.
Well, one thing that'll help is drinking some Bulletproof Coffee. So it'll help fill you up. It's got healthy fat. It's not going to raise blood sugar. So I think of this as a side dish at times that you just want to help fill up, but you don't want to eat all that much.
Right.
All right, press the button and let's see what we get next. All right, what is our next side dish?
Our next side dish is nuts.
Nuts. We've got some peanuts. We've got some macadamia nuts. Nuts have fat.
Right.
They have protein. And they have some carbs. So you're getting all 3 of the macros there.
Little carbs.
But the carbs are low, and what carbs they do have are released very slowly and processed very slowly. So they don't produce much spike at all.
Not much.
I'll never forget one time when I was early in my striving to become low carb, just much younger than I am now.
Okay.
I was in India.
Oh,
and in those days, nuts were kind of like my survival food because a lot of the places you stop, either in America or India, the snacks and the things you can buy there are all high carb, high sugar, white flour, junk.
Like
so I would carry my nuts with me.
Right.
And whenever I got a little bit hungry, just get a handful of nuts and bam, I'm good.
Yeah.
And one time my good friend John, who lives in India, took me to the Taj Mahal. And when you go to the Taj Mahal, they search you. They don't want you bringing any contraband.
Okay.
And do you know what they considered contraband for me?
No.
It was my nuts, my peanuts. I had a bottle full of peanuts, and they took it away from me.
And that was a contraband?
That was contraband.
Like, why did you bring nuts from America to India?
And John's wife, Lata, I have to give her credit. She fought and fought and fought, with her Indian language, trying to tell them, you got to let this guy have them. He's a diabetic, and he needs those nuts for his health. She fought and fought, but it didn't change anything. They still kept those nuts, and I lost my peanuts, but that's all right.
Love Lata. Hi, Lata.
Yeah, Lata is a good friend. Just go ahead and press the button. So what is next?
Next is, salad.
A salad. Salads are the new potato chips for the diabetic, the person that wants to keep their glucose in bounds.
Right.
You put aside the chips, the popcorn, the cheese popcorn.
Get it out of there.
The Cheetos, and all those carby stuff, the tortilla chips, the rice, and you enjoy salads.
There you are.
Now, you made it a little interesting because you put in
a lot of things in there.
Several different items that you might not normally find, such as sunflower seeds, shredded cheese.
Right. Broccoli.
Blueberries. Blueberries are going to be real good. Didn't put a lot, but a few just to spice it up and sweeten it up a little bit.
Green peppers.
So low carb. Again, the net carb thing comes into play. If you just count the total carbs, this would be somewhat high. By the time you cut out the fiber, net carbs, not bad at all. It's not going to spike your blood sugar. So now we're ready. I said final, but this wasn't the final. We got one more to go.
One more thing coming.
So press that button one last time. Go ahead and remove the cover.
And this is our final. Yay! Cheese.
Cheese. I looked at the carbs in this, and it's very low carb. Very low carb. So basic, and cheese is so filling. I mean, if you say, well, I'm eating a little scrawny hamburger patty, but that's not going to fill me up. I've got to have something else. Well, have some cheese.
Right.
The only negative is it's a bit high calorie. So if you're trying to lose weight, cheese might not exactly be your friend. But for glucose control, it is definitely your friend.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we are surrounded by possibilities.
A lot.
What do we have here? Possibilities. Ma'am, what would you like as your main dish?
I would like to have some chicken.
Okay, well, you're lucky because that's all we've got. You chose chicken, so you did real good. Of course, the fact that it was sitting out here staring you in the face maybe helped make that decision easy. And, ma'am, you're allowed 4 different side dishes.
4.
But if you want to ever drink anything, you got to choose the Bulletproof Coffee. So would you like that?
Right, I can take one cup.
For her 3 remaining sides, Benedicta chose a combination of macadamia nuts and peanuts, a half avocado, and green beans. Along with the chicken, my 4 sides included the Bulletproof Coffee, 2 slices of cheese, a half avocado, and the celery with the almond butter on it. Our meals were filling, and our glucose stayed neck and neck. A little over 1 hour after finishing our meal, at the time when our blood sugar should be hitting its peak, we tested ourselves and we were still together. Before the meal, Ben had been at 95 and I was at 96. And after the meal, Ben's glucose test read 100 and mine read 101. After eating a very filling meal with enjoyable foods, at the time our blood sugar should have been hitting its peak, instead it went nowhere. We both experienced a scrawny 5-point rise. Several years ago, when I did my famous or infamous candy bar versus banana test, after eating 2 bananas, my blood sugar hit 222 at 1 hour. Today, after eating a much larger meal and a more interesting meal, my glucose was at 100 around that time. Think about that. 100 or 222? 100 or 222. Does that tell you something? Well, what it tells me is that when you start leaning toward non-glucose spiking foods and avoiding the glucose spiking foods, you will get far better results and your A1C will have to come down. It just has to. And that, of course, is the key to beating diabetes. Okay, that's it for now. I want to remind you that I put together a series of the most fundamental and important videos about diabetes that I have made. I call this the Emergency Diabetes Kit. This series of videos was created with a newly diagnosed diabetic in mind. These videos can be downloaded as video MP4 files, so look for a link in the description below. God bless, and see you again soon.